In the ominous opening today of the book of Exodus, we hear the foreshadowing of oppression. A new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. The fall is swift. The redemption, well, that is the rest of the Torah. But Joseph is not the only one who Pharaoh does not know. Later, when Moses begins his negotiations with Pharaoh, the king scoffs, "Who is Adonai that I should heed him and let Israel go? I do not know Adonai, nor will I let Israel go." Pharaoh is quite certain about what he knows and what he does not know. This certainty is the cornerstone of his hubris. Hashem? I never met the guy. Perhaps Pharaoh never knew God because he wasn't paying attention. This week's Torah portion, Shemot, teaches us that uncertainty, while deeply uncomfortable, can bring us closer to the truth. Curiosity, the willingness to really look, the courage to suspend our desire to know in favor of witnessing. This is what draws us closer to the mystery of life. And it is what gives us the moral courage to protect life in a culture that too easily degrades its sanctity. Pharaoh decrees that all Israelite baby boys are to be killed. He delivers this brutal edict directly to the midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, instructing them to look at the birth stool. This detail is curious. Pharaoh simply could have said, "Kill the boys and let the girls live." Why insist on looking? Ironically, Pharaoh does not understand how seriously the midwives will take this command. Shiphrah and Puah do look, and they truly see. They see life, holiness born anew, the spark of the divine reflected in a newborn's eyes. It is this seeing that makes their act of civil disobedience possible. When I gave birth to my first daughter, Hannah, after a long labor, the doctor placed the baby on my chest. My daughter, Hannah, looked up at me and locked eyes with mine. In that moment, I saw her, and she saw me, and I knew that the world would never be the same. Such is the power of sight, the intimacy of meeting another person's gaze, the endless loop of mirrored holiness. Perhaps this is what Shiphrah and Puah saw. Not genitals, not categories of slave or free, but the light of another person's eyes. They bore witness, and in that witnessing, they felt yirah, a potent mixture of awe and fear that opens us up to the truth that life is sacred. Later, when Moses' mother places her infant among the reeds of the Nile, we read, Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe at the Nile. She spied the basket among the reeds and sent her maid to fetch it. When she opened it, she saw it was a child, a boy crying. She took pity on him. It is striking how the Torah emphasizes how Pharaoh's daughter sees the infant before hearing his cries. One might expect that the cry would come first. Perhaps the text wants to underscore the moral power of noticing, of paying attention before turning away. Moses, who will become the paragon of humility, rarely speaks about what he knows or doesn't know. Instead, he demonstrates, I think, a rather remarkable tolerance for uncertainty. He excels not at knowing, but at noticing. Like the midwives and Pharaoh's daughter before him, Moses is a consummate witness. When he looks, he truly sees. And when he sees suffering, he acts. This quality reaches its apex at the burning bush. As Moses tends his father-in-law's flock in the wilderness, we read, a messenger of Adonai appeared to him in a blazing fire out of a bush. Moses said, I must turn aside and look at this marvelous sight. When Adonai saw that he had turned aside to look, God called to him from the bush, Moshe, Moshe, and he answered, Hineni, here I am. God's appearance alone is not at the heart, I think, of this story. God needs a partner, someone willing to stop, to turn aside, to look. Only when Moses pauses does God enter into the relationship with him. Moments later, God reveals, I have surely seen the suffering of my people. I've heard their cry. I know their pain. Overwhelmed, Moses hides his face. He cannot yet bear that intensity of seeing or of being seen. This is, of course, a very human reaction. But then comes the greater miracle. Not only a bush that burns without being consumed, but a God who bears witness, a God who sees suffering and refuses to look away. The book of Exodus invites us to loosen our grip on certainty in favor of curiosity, to privilege seeing over knowing, witnessing over denial, humility over hubris. Redemption, it seems, begins when we're willing to stop and truly look. And once we have seen, we are no longer permitted to remain passive. To bear witness to life is to feel summoned to protect it, to stand for dignity, for justice, for the sanctity of human life, especially in the narrow places where life is threatened, erased, or devalued. Shabbat Shalom.